Yo.
Whatever. Hold on. Before we start, though,
Nah.
no,
We're
no,
not doing it. We're
you
not
not gonna
doing
do
it.
that?
We're not doing it.
What's up,
We're
yo?
not doing it.
Yo, hold on. I just gotta ask you a question, yo. I haven't seen you in about like 2 weeks. Where you get a bed from, bro?
What you mean?
Yo, where you get that from?
Grown man shit.
I see. What's up, world? We're here. We haven't recorded in a minute, man. What's this episode? What?
2, 3.
Episode 3. We growing. Pause.
Yeah. Nah. I think it's good for us to not like shoot so frequently. Yo.
Yeah, definitely. So everybody that's tuned in, we miss y'all. We here. We got an interesting conversation that we're gonna talk about today. I hit Ty up this morning. I was just like, me and my girl, we was having a conversation earlier today about like holidays and how a lot of us, especially in the Black community, we kind of like really go crazy over getting stuff for our children, for each other, or people who really deal with a lot of social emotional stuff around the holidays. And then something interesting came up that I will probably I won't bring up here that we had a conversation about, but it made me think about the Jonah Lucas record, I'm Sorry, where basically in the rap he came from a two perspective kind of space where he talked about like how men of color in particular they deal with like mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and we really like not taught to talk about those things or even show emotions in that way. And then on the flip side, in the lyrics in the second verse, he came from the standpoint of the family member, of the brother, of the guy in this song who committed suicide because he just couldn't take it and nobody understood him. And he came from the standpoint of the brother being upset. Like, how dare you kill yourself? Like, you're weak. And it just made me think about like how many of us, especially Black men and men of color, how many of us really suppress, what we feel, what we go through, and like what is this concept of like manning up.
It's so crazy because I had this conversation about like 3 hours ago with like a friend of mine, and she's like probably like 22, and she was just saying how for men to be like this strong warrior, they can't have emotion, and for a man to be head of a house, like it's just not. Women have emotion, like science. She was bringing science into it, like science, and I was just like, so you mean to tell me that because you are a female, because I'm a male, I can't have the same emotions as you? Yes, I was like, no, I can, but when I do show those emotions, I'm called a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, I've learned in my journey that the stronger man has access to those emotions. And
that's prolific, man.
No, but seriously, because
man has access to those emotions. That's
real.
Real.
When you are emotional, right, you tend to make irrational decisions. And I would much rather make rational decisions, know what I'm going through, than to just spaz out and black out.
Yeah,
I feel like that is not being a man, so to speak. I feel like me understanding, wow, I feel this way about this, I can handle that. Let me handle what I have to handle, or whatever. Like, it's just like that. Like that, like really pissed me off this morning. Like,
I can imagine, and I think that it was a line that you just said that this word of being emotional.
Yeah,
I think that we really need to take a deeper look of how we utilize words and terminology. It's just like, you're not being emotional, you're showing emotion.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you're being mad. Right? And many of us, especially men of color, when we are taught to man up, we're taught to like not show those things that are of us. If anybody can choose their feelings, I don't think people will walk around and decide that they want to feel anxiety or they want to feel depression or they want to feel these certain things. It is something that we see or conditions that we go through, and through those we show this emotion, and that's part of language. Right. And it's like, I had a conversation. I went out, I think it was last week, and we're hanging out, guys, ladies, and the conversation came up about relationships, and the women were like middle age. They were like 40, 42, 43, or whatever. And one of the women was like, I'm super successful and you know, I'm ready to have a man in my life, but I don't want nobody I could run all over. I don't want no punk. And I was just like, well, what's the definition of a punk? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I don't want a person who's too accommodating or too nice. I was just like, well, then what you want? Somebody to slap you, or you want somebody that's gonna walk around and be angry and not express how they supposed to feel? And if you really think about it, we've taught that from the time that we're born.
To be assholes.
Yeah.
To be assholes.
And then
just
people get mad when we
to
become
take,
assholes.
Yeah, to just take and be assholes. Like, and if we don't correct that shit, it's gonna, like, that's why men think it's okay to like rape women. And it's not
Hypermasculinity.
Yeah, it's not justified. It's not justified. But you know, these things are like these social norms. They like transition into bigger problems.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right.
If we don't like beat the monster like when it's young, that shit is gonna grow into a beast. And
Yeah, facts.
you have to always be intact with your emotions. Like it is very like,
And then not lie, right? Because I think what pisses me off is that when you see a young man going through something, the first thing we want to do is like toughen him up.
Yeah.
Right? Like suppress this.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not supposed to be that. And I get it, right? The social construct of especially men in America, black men in America, the social construct for black men, we already, you know, behind the bar as far as like access to things.
Right.
And so I get where that comes from, like teaching our young black men how to like navigate and how to like be resilient. But it's better ways in which we can teach them.
Yeah.
Because when we operate in a space where we want them to suppress their true self, that true emotion,
you're gonna explode.
Yeah, man,
you're gonna explode. And that's why so many like young dudes just explode. And that's why suicide is even.
That's why
it's like
gangs.
It's like where else do I? And I've never felt like I wanted to kill myself, but I've definitely felt stuck in the midst of like, yo, I am like really hurt right now, right? And so it's like it's phases. Like I would get my feelings hurt. I would get mad at myself for feeling hurt. And then I would get mad that I was mad about being hurt because it's just like why you so like in your head. So it's just like it just becomes like this big thing for you, and it's just like you feel like
you almost like lose sight on what happened.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
You lose sight on what you were going through because now you got to go through this process of like.
And imagine going through that for years.
Every almost every day.
That's why everybody needs counseling.
Yeah,
everybody, because to do that for like year after year after year, and just to say that you're okay is like it's a lie. Like you're lying.
Yeah, man, and it's when you talk about suicide, like interesting enough, you know, more white men commit suicide than black men statistically.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but the problem with this is that like when you look at the demographics of people in America, white men or white people make 61% of the population, where black people only make 13% of the population, which is striking because that number has been, and it's been going on for generations. Like no matter what, because of the conditioning that we've been faced with, we will always be at 13%. But when you look at the prison population, white men make up about, I want to say like 20%, probably a little bit more, and black men make up 37%.
Shit.
So like out of that 37%, you would figure maybe like 26% maybe deal with mental health issues. So like those numbers, like the reason why it's so important, I believe, in our communities for us to deal with that is because the way we are raised and the things that we have to go through. But a large amount of us are we're not like committing suicide, but we're living our lives like in this like turmoil every single day. And then because we're in turmoil, our families are taught that we're not supposed to talk about it. You know, that stigma of like taboo. Oh, if you go get support or you go talk with somebody, you got to be crazy.
There's something wrong with you.
And now that stuff manifests into the rape culture that we talked about, hypermasculinity, and then men of color ended up going to prison, and they staying in prison because they can't cope with what society is handing them. So like they become comfortable with staying in a space that keeps them locked up because they believe they need to be there.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
What bugged me out about the conversation is she was saying scientifically men can't feel what women feel.
Well, we can't feel menstrual cycle.
I was
That's
like,
about the
I was
only
like,
thing.
I can't give birth, but at the end of the day, if someone does something to like hurt my feelings, I'm pretty sure if they did the same thing to you, and that was something that was like near and dear to your heart, you would feel the same
Hell
thing.
yeah.
So
Anger
it's
is
just
anger.
like, well, like, what do you mean? Like, I was like really confused, man,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because imagine bringing that into a relationship,
Mhm.
and it's like it's this song about I don't know what they call them, Six Lack or Black, but
Six black, six black.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Six Lack or something
Oh,
like
okay,
because
okay.
it's like a six and then it's like LACK.
Got you, got you.
But it's he said it's like a snippet of a girl speaking, and she's like along the lines of like you were taught to communicate.
I think it's like pretty something. Was it with Was it with J Cole in it? And he was like in the gym.
I think it's something like that, but she
Got
was
you,
like
got
you were
you.
taught to like communicate for things that I think it's like things you need or things you just to get by, basically, and not what you feel, but what you like communicate in a way that you would just get things done. And it's
Got
just like you don't know how to express. So she's like, so I'm stuck trying to figure out what you feel because you don't know how to say what you feel, and it's just like that dynamic, like to have that going on for so many years and to like pass that on to your kids and have that in your relationship. It's just like it saddens me because it's just like a lot of people don't even know that they're doing it.
I agree. I feel like when I was younger, I'm 36, so when I was in my teens and early 20s, most of my destruction came from the fact that I was like under the impression that I couldn't express.
Yeah.
So like anytime anybody, and especially like dudes, anybody said anything to me that I just didn't agree with, that like sparked or triggered an emotion, like we was fighting,
Right.
or we were like, I'm doing something to you, or I'm like thinking about doing something to you to make you feel what I'm feeling. And I feel like I'm 36, so a lot of transformation has happened, and especially like doing the work that I do, I feel stronger that I'm able to release in a positive way where I can talk about things like this
Yeah.
and not feel like, oh, I'm being a chump, right?
Yeah.
Because even this type of conversation
Right.
between two black men, people may think that that's taboo, like, oh,
Yeah.
these dudes are soft because they talking like this, or
Yeah.
get them a couch and things like that.
And I like to this day, like that's still something like it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to cry. And my step pops, which is like my pops, like that's like Superman to me. Like seeing him cry made me like one day just made me feel like so like I felt like he was like breaking apart. Right, and it's just like how could I'm like Superman can't fold, like it kind of like bugged me out.
Yeah.
But later on in life, I realized that he was probably like in his strongest element.
Facts.
And
Facts.
me and him we've never really like spoken about it, but just it's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like now, like looking back at it, I feel so empowered because it's like if Superman could cry,
Facts, right?
then like damn,
we
it's
all
not
good.
that it's not that bad. Then
Get
like,
the tissue.
Yeah, right. So it's like it's really crazy, and it's like what in what other ways can men really express themselves other than being violent?
Well,
Like,
I think through art, man. I think that, and there's many phases, right? Like working out.
yeah, I'm saying appropriate to society because a lot of men don't want to. Like a lot of men don't really care to work out. A lot of men don't.
Yeah, facts.
So like, what is appropriate to society for a man to express themselves? So for instance, like a lot of times on like Instagram, you see memes like, oh, she cheat, like I beat her ass, and things like that. And like females are like posting this, and females are like laughing at this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this was to happen to you, I don't think that shit would be funny.
Hell no.
But this is what you females like put out to like.
I think you have to disconnect from society and and be like vulnerable and authentic to who you are. So and here's the thing: nobody's saying that you need to be in a public space and kind of like crying and like releasing in that way, but like make sure you have a space that even if it's in private or if you have somebody who you can confide in. And what I mean by confide is not somebody who's going to be willing to give you advice.
Right.
Like just somebody who's going to be in the space to hear you, who's going to be like that soundboard for you to talk about the things that you don't like, talk about the things that you're confused of, and just give you that space to dump all of that, the thoughts, the emotions, and the conditions. You know,
What do you think if that person is one, not your like not either your parents or your significant other?
I think that's perfect. One of the things that I tell people, even when I work with them in coaching, is your love of the person that you with can be your therapist. Now they can
agreed. Agreed.
Now they may hear your ups and downs and your struggles, but when you are really looking for a way out,
you can't.
You can't. I mean, to some degree, you may find somebody in your life who has a level of consciousness or an experience who can say, "Hey, maybe you should try like this," and suggest certain things. But when you really trying to like repair, you gotta go to a different
and it takes you out of the relationship to the point where sometimes you don't even want to go back in. I've had instances like that. I was dating this female once, and she just had like a lot of shit, and I was always like being her therapist, bro.
Yeah, man,
and it was just like, I don't want to be a therapist or your boyfriend. So
exactly. That actually happened to me. I'm not gonna bring. I talk about it a lot, but I ain't gonna bring it up here.
Yeah.
But I want to get into this record by Jonah Lucas, because like I said earlier, it was interesting listening to it and hearing the both perspectives, and I guess we could come back. So Pyro, if you don't mind, bro. Let's get that record. Jonah Lucas, I'm sorry. Really pay attention to the lyrics. Turn up a little bit more, Pop.
Go ahead and call me a coward. Say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you. Go ahead and call me crazy because I live in a maze. Tell me, how about you? I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes. Cause I never been happy with myself. And I don't need no one feeling bad for me. Trying to offer me pity and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind closed doors. Just close the door and let me be by myself. Just me and myself. I'm tired of living, I cry. I hear it's easy to die. I wanna see for myself. And I know that sounds crazy to everyone else, but I'm depressed as fuck. Stressed as fuck. Ain't no medicine that can cure what's intense as drugs I need extra love, and that ain't even enough. So that ain't even enough, and where the fuck is God? Damn, maybe I ain't believing enough, but today we gonna see if he's real. And if he is, then I guess I'm probably going to hell. Look, I ain't wanna die like this. I ain't picture my life like this. They don't know what it's like this. Pretending I'm happy so I can smile like this and laugh like you. Sometimes I wonder if I ever act like you. Could I finally fit in and maybe relax like, ooh? Or would you feel lost without me? Cause honestly, I think the world is better off without me and my mind spinning. This is the line finished. Truth is I don't care how they feel about my feelings. I made up my mind. I'm going out like Robin Williams. I guess I'm not the ordinary people of John Legend. And I've been suicidal since the day I was 9. Shit. Okay, the day I was 9. I've been tired of being bullied, couldn't stay out the fire. Grandma told me I should take it one day at a time. And damn it, look at me now. Fuck. Pen running out. Shit. Look, just know it's a new day. But if you're reading this, then it's probably too late. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay.
Pause it right there. Pause it right there. So like that first verse, like it always like it gets me because two things that he said that really, I mean, a lot of things stood out in that first verse that was crazy. And even now, I guess you can feel my energy just shifted. Like to he was 9, right? When he acknowledged the fact that he was feeling these feelings, and then he talked about God in this situation. And I think that, again, people of color, we look for these entities, these higher beings.
Yeah.
And it's dope, right? Like whatever you need, but like that can't be the only source.
Yeah.
And we rather run to a religious institution, which is dope, but I think that it needs to be a situation where those spaces supply trained individuals, because if we can say in one breath that a God or a God that you believe in worked through people, then why not have individuals who he gives the gift
Right.
to be able to hear
Right.
those type of things, right? Because that 9-year-old boy could have been in a church or a religious setting where he was getting that type of support where he can like hold on to it when he feel like he can't hold on to himself.
Yeah.
And then the fact that at 9 years old, like in our communities, I mean, aggression runs rampant. And as a result of it, that aggression now becomes who we are, especially as men of color. By the time you're 15, you've probably been through 7 fights, probably more, and you are growing up in a single parent home, and you're dealing with the stress of your single mother not being able to make ends meet.
Right.
And now you become this man before your time. And all of that is stress, right? All of that is anxiety. So when you hit 2022, you like an OG because mentally you like worn out.
Yeah.
So how many young men go through that and they feel like they can't make it no more?
I feel like almost, I would say about 80%.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the song it doesn't connect with me as much, but I do I definitely understand where you're coming from. I just feel like there's just a lot of things that it's like, where do we begin to shift things? You know, like how do we begin to, like, where does that start? What does that look like for young men? You know?
I think, and before I answer that, because it's rooted in the second verse, it's important for us. Well, Pyro, let's continue playing it. Let's listen to the second verse. So this is the brother of the guy who killed himself. It's like, that's the verse.
I hope you got what you wanted. I hope you finally happy. It's too late for you. Been going out of my mind. You don't know how many times that I done prayed for you. I hope you hear me, goddammit, cause I got so much shit that I wanna say to you. I used to shine, now I'm all in the dark. I remember I used to tell you to follow your heart, but goddammit, look at you now. It's all your fault. How could you? Maybe it's my fault. I should have paid more attention to what you been doing. Maybe I should have been more of an influence. I can't believe that you're dead. I read your letter and all I could do is have mixed feelings about it. But I'll forever be attached to you. Damn. Part of me feels bad for you. A part of me feel like you weak and I'm mad at you. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but I don't understand how we couldn't prevent this shit. You took the easy way out. God damn it, you did. I mean, look what you did. I'm so fucking upset. How could you be so selfish? Nigga, how could you be so selfish? Now you're gone, you done left me so helpless. I wonder what God thinks. I hope you in God's place behaving yourself. Yo, what the fuck you gotta say for yourself? Look, I really feel lost without you. I hate the fact you think the world is better off without you. And my mind's spinning. This is the line finish. Truth is, I don't care how you feel about my feelings. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I'm fine. Listen, I know that you can hear me. All I need is like 5 minutes. I just want to reach inside the casket and pull you out. I'm sorry, this is something that we both couldn't figure out. I wish I could hear you now. Is your soul missing? I wonder if you could do it again. Would you do it different? Tell me what death is like. Was it meant for you, Brody? Did the heaven support it? Are you fucking happy now? Did you get what you wanted? Isn't this what you wanted? I feel the temperature falling and you've been suicidal back then, you were not. Yeah, even back then you was not. We was living on the edge, couldn't stay out the fire. Grandma told us we should take it one day at a time, and damn it, look at you now. Shit. But it's a new day, and if you can't hear me, then it's probably too late. Fuck! Just make sure you tell
We can stop it there.
okay.
So that's where it needs to start. Like the fact that when people in our families go through what they go through, that may make other people uncomfortable or when we ask them what's wrong, they can't explain the feeling. We need not to blame them for things that they can't control. And when you listen to the second verse, he was sad that his brother was gone, but he never said anything like, even in his death, to say like, yo, like, I console you, I console your soul. It was like more of like, how dare you do that to me?
Yeah.
And
yeah, like a lot of people, that's just how a lot of people cope, man. Like,
yeah,
I know that, like, in me being like feeling pain, I just want to flex. I just want to flex, like, I'm the shit. Like, that's just like, that's a lot of people, like, people just cope differently, you know.
But
and,
what happens, right? Because you have a little brother.
mm-hmm.
What happens if you see your little brother and he is going through something and he may start crying, or he may slam something in the house? What's your initial reaction to that? Now, you gotta be truthful, because I know how you deal with your little brother.
I know, and I love my little brother to death. It's always been a push pull with us, you know. I do know that my brother knows that I have his back 1,000% if he needs anything, but you know, there's been times where I've seen him and I just give him the space, man. And
but in the moment that he shows the emotion, and I'm talking like in general, and I'm only asking you that because you have a little brother.
Nah,
but
yeah.
What do you think the natural reaction is when we see certain things that as a culture of people, we deem like erratic?
Yeah, first and foremost in a black household, it's like, you're not fucking grown, don't slam nothing.
Exactly.
Right? So that's one. And then two is like, yo, what's your problem? Like, chill out. But I feel like,
and that's the you ask what the solution is like, because we grow up and we're not, as a people, we're not in tune with how to understand, manage, and support people who may act out in ways that we deem not appropriate.
Right.
We attack it instead of like acknowledging the feeling first, and then once you acknowledge the feeling, then you acknowledge what was done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so for example, with my children, if Chase does something that I may think is inappropriate, I'm not saying, yo, stop. I'm gonna be like, what's going on? Why did you feel like you needed to do that? Right? What are you feeling? And then walk her through that process, and then say, well, as a result, you see what you destroyed.
Yeah. And my mom used to do that with me, but I feel like at a point in time, it was just like, it was very tiring. Like, every 5 minutes, it was like, what are you going through now? Well, are you okay now? What are you going through now? I just feel like, especially that not being her situation, like that not being her norm. Yeah. It was just like, nah, you. But she to a degree, she felt like a pushover.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that in raising, right, or even dealing with people who suffer with mental health, right, you don't not hold them accountable for what they created, right? But you just don't tell them that they've messed up the first thing, because they already feel like that, right? Like, to slam something, to punch a hole in the wall, to hit somebody, it's the end result of the feeling, right? So being that we don't acknowledge the feeling, we only talk about what we see instead of saying, hey, whoa, bro, how you feeling?
Nah, it's crazy that you mentioned like punching holes in the wall. There's like so many holes that I had to patch out.
You look like somebody who punch holes in the wall.
Nah, yeah, like, for like real talk, like, and it was just like, damn, like, you like really took me back. And this is like, I want to say, like, this only happened in high school. Like, after high school, like, I ain't fucking up my hand.
Yeah. But so what? I mean, other than you not hurting your hand, what do you think? Because a lot of young men of color, especially today, because they talk about, like, I mean, we talked about this like a couple of weeks ago with, the way, the outward like display of like drugs and all of these different things that we see in media. What shifted for you, right? Because we know what the family needs now, but like, what made you say, you know what, like, I'm not going to utilize my hands to destroy these things when I'm feeling away? Like,
my grandmother told me that I had a conversation with my grandmother, and she was like, I used to do those same type of things, and my grandmother used to be like, now that your phone is broken, what are you gonna do? Yeah. now that wall, like you have to patch that hole up,
Mm-hmm,
and you still have those emotions. So even though you did that,
Yeah.
those emotions are still. And my mom, like to this day, like she's like an advocate for that. Like you still have these emotions. They didn't go
They
anywhere.
ain't not
Like,
going nowhere.
so you did that, and now you have more pain. Now you have physical pain over your
And embarrassment.
like. It's
Yeah.
just like it's not. It just wasn't worth it. And I feel like after high school, I chilled out a lot. Like as far as like my anger, like even like talking to my friend last night, you know, it was things that she wanted to tell me, but it was like I wasn't approachable as a friend even because of my temperament. Like I was like
facts.
really like off. Like I didn't even realize how off the rails I would be like with my mouth and like just being like
You
really,
know what?
like,
You know what I tell people, because the feeling is not going away. Find things that you can destroy that will be fun, right? Like, so I used to tell people, or I still tell people who I coach, like, if you really feel like you got to release in that way, go get a dartboard, right? Like, take those darts and throw them as hard as you possibly can at that dartboard, but so that way you can control the chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that when you get into a space, because like you said, the feeling is going to be there. And some people need to release physically in order to like get to a space, get some boxing gloves, go to the gym, punch the weight bag, punch it till you get so tired that you can't do nothing else but think about the situation.
Exactly.
That's the key to it. Not saying, okay, I'm mad, let me go kick a hole in the radiator. Let me go like knock the lights off off the ceiling. It's like, I'm upset. Have that space in your vicinity, so that way when you feeling that way, you go like I gave Chase. He got one of those stress balls, right? Like so, you in school, your teacher say something crazy to you, Chase. Just squeeze it till your fingers start hurting.
Man, I needed that.
Yeah, like and those things are important, man. And yeah, man. And so that way we not hearing records like a Jonah Lucas record where he can kind of like articulate so vividly what a person is going through emotionally, to the point where they not only try to hang themselves, because if you look at the video, you'll see the young man, he tried to hang himself. That didn't work. The belt popped. And then he resulted to something that he knew would more than likely end his life, and that was by shooting himself in the head. And then as a family member, how are we dealing with those situations before it gets there?
It's so hard for me and my little brother because he's so much cooler than I was at his age. He's like really like lax and like whatever.
Blasé and chill.
Yeah, and at that age I was like everything
you
but that.
wasn't.
I was everything but that. Like you said what to me? Like so I don't know what advice to give him because
But I don't think it's advice. I think it's more about learning from each other.
Yeah, so it's like, but when he does go through these things, I don't really know, like, it's like, I don't know what to, like, really say, because especially, like, in my experience, like, him being the age, at his age, I was so much more experienced in relationships and life, and, my mom kind of holds on tighter to him in that sense, so it's like, in a lot of ways, like, he's like a video game kid, like, I was not, like, I wasn't that, like, I was into, like, sports and women, like it just wasn't no like he's like always on the game, like we don't relate in that sense, but like we both love to dance, we both love music, like we relate in those aspects, and we like always like it's always like a weird dynamic, but it's just like how it's like being that the relationship is like that. It's like when you do start to fold, how do I approach you?
Well, I'll say this. I have my son, he's your age, and I didn't find out about him until he was in high school, and to that point, he is like a laid back individual, and you know me, I'm high octane all the time. And one of the things that I had to teach myself in the process of like getting to know who he was and the things that he liked and the things that he wanted. He's a video game head. He's doing great for himself. I just had to be there, right? Like, and what I mean by be there, like literally just hear him. Yeah. Like not even look to try to relate. Yeah. Not even look to try to like find my way to like be able to drop some crazy jewel on him if he needed it. Right. Just simply like, yo, Pop, this is what I'm doing. All right, son. Yeah. Did you think about it? Yeah. Right? Like, how do you feel? Are you well, I'm a little confused about it, but I'm gonna figure it out. All right, dope. Let me know if you need support. Yeah. Like, and after a while, when you do that, you create this space where they can trust, and then they'll come to you and say, what do you think? Or, yo, I'm going through this. What do you think? Yeah. So I think that, and then you have like the age gap, right?
Yeah.
Like that you have that issue as well. So just being in the space and then
Yeah.
becoming a video game head for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? I think that that's like dope too, because especially for men of color, and I'm so happy you brought that up about the separation. Even when you walk outside, and we had this conversation, and you know my frustration, it's like we operate in silos. Like we can't come together for nothing.
Yeah, that's why and it's crazy because for so long, I used to tell my brother before I leave the house, like, yo, I love you, give him a hug, whatever. And for a while, he wouldn't do it back.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like I want to say like 3 years ago that he really was like, yo, I love you too, and that shit like makes me almost like want to cry like when it happens, like because it's like I knew that he loved me, but I didn't know that he loved me.
Yeah, man, because it's different when you hear it.
When you hear it, it's just like, yo, this kid really loves me,
Yeah,
man. Like,
and it shows that they're conscious. It shows that individuals are conscious about what they saying, especially if you don't hear it often, and it comes out, so it's like really dope. But you know, we gotta support each other, yo. Like we gotta stop operating in these separate spaces, especially for men of color. We never really come together now unless we at a bar trying to like grab a chick, or if we are on a basketball court. And I mean, that's a good space.
Yeah.
Both spaces are pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like being able to like build things together and just have real conversations about how we feeling.
Walking into a club and everybody's just like dudes just acknowledge you, like real positive energy. Nobody like ice grilling you. Like that shit is so wavy, man.
Yeah,
like
man.
it's just like it's so cool. Like everybody just be on like cool spirits. But I don't think the world will ever be that way. And I'm okay with that though.
Yeah, I mean, because the world is the world. I think that
it's about balance.
Yeah, and I think that you got to create parallels. So just because the world is like that, that don't mean that your society, your culture has to be about like that. And I think that's the power of like choice. You can make your world the way you want it to be, and it may only be two people in it. Right. But as long as those individuals in that are making a choice to care for each other, to operate in vulnerability, and vulnerability doesn't mean to be weak. It just means that you are being able to express and hold yourself accountable for the things that you feel. Yeah. And it's way better because it takes a lot of energy to kind of like be angry. Right? Like statistically, they say anger causes fucking heart attacks, high blood pressure, hypertension. Like the ramifications of anger, depression, anxiety, stress, all of those things those things contribute to your body negatively. Right. And if you only get one life, then strive hard to be as happy and joyous. But
it's just so crazy because it's like it's hard to operate like that outside. Like
why?
Because it's like you fool at that point, you know?
Nah, definitely not. Because
in the sense of like people see that as like weakness, and people like will try you and
okay,
and
then they gonna
but it's just
because here's the thing.
But say if you don't want to go there, like you don't want to, and it's like you feel like you like me being young, like I'll be straight up. If somebody like approaches me that way, I don't know if I'm gonna walk away. I don't feel like I'm gonna walk away.
But then I think that's like, right, because I'm an aggressive person too. Yeah. But one of the things that I've learned is like, where's that coming from? Yeah.
And I don't want to walk away.
But that so like
being honest,
right? Like so that means that you have to acknowledge that I have an inner anger in me. Yeah. Right. Like we call it the hawk. Yeah. Right. I got the inner hawk in it with me that walks with me. Right. Because again, like what we said in the top of this conversation, if we can be happy people all the time, then we will be happy people, and you won't even have to worry about those things. Yeah. But you do have people who are hurting, and they're looking to displace whatever they're feeling.
Right, because there's some days I walk outside and I'm like, I want somebody.
Yeah, I wish a nigga would.
Yeah,
but that's rooted in something. And I think, so, you know, certain things happen, and the trigger in me be like, yo, I'm going to slap this shit. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to knock your face in, but then I ask myself, like, what do you really, why do you really want to do that? Yeah.
But I feel like
it's because of a bill that you couldn't pay.
That's so deeply rooted. Like it's like you have to dig. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's not their shit. It's your shit. Yeah. Now they got shit too. They got things that's going on. Right. But if you respond to it and you become the aggressor, then now if somebody attack you, by all means, lights out. Right. Right. Yeah. But if you have a situation where you obviously see that this person is being something they're erratic, and you being calm, and you're trying to speak logic, and they're unwilling at that point, or they can't process the positivity, you got a way out. You can walk away.
Yeah.
And that goes for everybody. That's
Yeah.
why we see so many people dying in our streets.
Yeah, I know.
Because it don't be about nothing. It just be about like, yo, really?
And I hate it because it's like it's happening like with like me walking with my girlfriend. Like,
yeah, I can imagine.
And
especially nowadays. Dudes just want to say something just because.
And like she would like be so mad at me. And I'm like, why you mad at me? Like you didn't hear like what they just like
and like I'm out, Tina, like she's a very beautiful
Yeah,
chocolate woman. Like, we be out,
I'm not the type of dude that minds when dudes look. I like that.
Yeah, but
like,
even when dudes try to talk, I'm just in my head.
Yeah,
right. When you younger, right? Like, there's an ego thing with that. But like in my head now, I'm like, yo, that's your choice.
Yeah, it's like I must look soft to you. Like,
but I don't think. Well, I think that they probably do think that.
Yeah.
But let them think that.
Yeah.
Right, because if it came down to it, and you had to defend yourself without doubt, right? Like we have to, and as men of color, we have to know who we are, right, before we show the world.
Yeah.
So like, go ahead now. If it's a situation where she says no, and they continue, and like they become aggressive in that, then as a protector,
I have to like commend myself. Like I have become like a lot better, and it doesn't happen too often. But like the time, like it happened like when we first started dating.
Yeah, or take an Uber.
Yeah, and it
Stop
was
walking.
Or get a car.
Get a car.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like even like it's just it doesn't happen as often, and I can't say the last time that happened actually,
but you can remember that. Yeah, that's
like
real.
Those times, it's just like, yo, like. You kidding me right now?
Yeah,
because I'm not that dude. When I see another dude with his lady, you know what I'm saying? Probably look like let's be real.
Yeah, facts.
I'm not gonna approach something like a female when I see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And even if they didn't see, like it's still like I don't know.
Yeah, man. But it's all rooted in like ego, pride, pain, and if we don't mitigate those emotions, then they manifest into a lot of chaotic and dangerous things.
Right.
And as a people, we have to move ourselves from not talking about it, not acknowledging it, not holding ourselves accountable for how we're feeling and how we're impacting the world. And then those of us who may experience it from other people, we need to equip ourselves with the understanding and the knowledge of like how to deal. Like you wouldn't dare walk into, and this is for anybody, you wouldn't dare walk into a lion's den if you're not trained to deal with lions. Why? Because you know that there's a possibility they're going to chew your head off.
Right.
So, like, don't dare deal with people and you're not equipped to deal with people. Like, learn the skill of what mental health is and what it can be and can't be for your friends, your family, and society as a whole. I think that if people could do two things, they can go get mental health training and smoke some marijuana, life will be great. You got to get some weed.
What is one thing you can say you took away from this year? Being that we're like closing this year out. Like,
you're absolutely right. Like,
what is one big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway from me is time. Time is everything. And you have to, because we lost Curtis, R.P. Curtis, who was 21 and was like slain and killed. You can't, and it's weird because I don't know if this is gonna come out right, but what I'm processing is that you have to take care of time. And any time once God gives you the ability to wake up, breathe, and have a sound mindset, or even if you're going through something, you have to spend your time carefully working on the things that you want to work on, and then living like the things that you are good at, doing that to the best of your ability.
Right.
But take care of time because you just don't know. Yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've learned, in 2018.
I've taken away so many things though. Like time, definitely, especially like being like working, and
having like 45 jobs.
yeah, having like that near death experience, like the day before Thanksgiving, like and working. You know what I'm saying? Like I just realized that it was just like this is not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, I feel so liberated and free now that I'm not working in those places. Like I'm working in areas that I like really like enjoy and love because I don't know when I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
You know, so being that I'm like able to express myself to like the highest magnitude in the time being in the space, it's just like it's the best feeling ever. One thing I took away from this year, but I want to like master in 2019 is discipline. I want to like discipline myself in every aspect.
Yes, that's like the most powerful key. Like it's crazy you say that. I know we like running out of time. We almost finished.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy you brought that up because I went to Bali. And we had a layover in China. And when you walk through the Chinese airport, and we was in this place called Kazakhstan. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I just butchered that. But when we were walking through the airport, it was silent. It was like the scariest thing. And it was Chinese people, Asian people walking back and forth. But the silence was so disciplined. Like, you could see, like, that culture of people, those people are disciplined, that they just was in the space and you could feel their presence, but nothing was said. And I was like, so we walking through there and we 18 black people and we loud as a motherfucker. I mean,
that's our culture though, man. I love us.
And it's dope, right? Like we altruistic, you know, we're outrageous, but by the time we got midway through the airport, everybody shut up.
Yeah.
Because the space was so
without
powerful
anything
and so
being
disciplined.
Said. Yeah.
Like you can see it in them, like they are super focused.
Yo, to master that, I feel like I'm gonna be a millionaire by 25.
Like that is key.
Yeah. Definitely.
Discipline in the areas that you are like in life, like knowing when to speak, right? Like utilizing your voice when it's like impactful.
Yeah.
All of those things, like knowing when to fold and take a step back, knowing when to like take out time for yourself. It's
that's so deeply rooted in having access to your emotions.
It's everything.
It's so deeply rooted.
It's everything. That experience at Bali was so real that I put Chase in karate school.
Word. Wow.
I put it like she learning mixed martial arts. I need jujitsu
for the next year. I need something too. I'm so tired of like just going to the gym. I need to do like boxing or something. I would love to do kickboxing, man.
Yeah, that's
I like
good,
that.
Yeah,
like gory, like real. Like I love that. So that's something I'm probably gonna do for New Year. What about you? What do you think is something you're gonna like really experiment?
Well,
with?
I mean, I you know me, I do the meditation. I train in it, so I'll probably try to like increase in that, and I might take up a form of Aikido. So it's like a defensive like martial arts. Because now Chase is in it. I can't have my daughter learning the skill and she sweep kick me and slam me on the ground.
Wash some dishes.
No, daddy. So I think I'm gonna sneak and go and learn that because it's like all about defense and stuff. Like it's not like real aggressive. It's more of like waiting for a person to do anything. It's like the art of like understanding the body. Well. And you know I like study body language and all that, so I think I'm gonna take that.
I might take that with you, man.
It's one in Park Slope.
Fire.
It's one in Park Slope. So man. So what you calling the show?
This is by 2018.
By 2018.
It's been real.
It's been real. Mine is gonna be the true definition of a manning up. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Go to our Instagram. Mine's is at Coach Coop _.
I'm at Tyrell Leroy.
Tyrell Leroy.
I think for 2019 too. Like I'm telling everybody, refer to me as Leroy.
Leroy, you want your new name to be Leroy?
That's not my. I was born Leroy.
You was born Leroy.
A lot of people don't know that. Like my birth name on my birth certificate is Leroy. Leroy Tyrell.
I don't know if I'm gonna call you Leroy. But until next time, see you guys. 2019 will be a great year, and just lock in, tune in. We out.